Okay, so we're back here. I cleaned up, took a little bit of the extra silicone off, and then let it set up just a little bit more. It's still just tacky. I'm still rushing it a bit here, but I want to hurry up and make this thing, so let's go ahead and keep going here. I want to be sure with this steel layer that I'm putting on here, you can see it's kind of peeking out past the bottom there, and I'm going to fix that up. And similarly, I don't want it extending past the top. It's not critical to cover this entire thing with steel because there is going to be another steel layer here. It's really important here to take your time and make sure that you've got good steel spacing. Like, see this guy right here? You know, you can't have anything that's exposed, because when I go to trowel the concrete on here, I'm going to have to make the concrete thick enough to cover everything, and that would be way too thick. So you have to take your time and press all of this steel out of the way. And if it's really loosey-goosey, like, you know, bend some wire or cut it and wrap it around, and just, you want it to be like pretty nice and secure around here by the time you're done. Now that we have the steel layer wrapped around, it's nice and secure, we can go ahead and start adding the next layer of steel on. And I really have to caution as we start to work with this next layer, this stuff is so dangerous. It's just dying to cut you. It's really sharp. You need to protect yourself when working with it, like full gloves, long sleeves, everything. And you still expect to be cut when you're working with this stuff a lot. And I'll show you the product I'm talking about here. So it's called diamond mesh or stucco lath, or a couple other names it could be known by. But it's a galvanized steel sheeting, and it can be added to help reinforce concrete applications. And in this case, what we can use it to do is help to provide a lot of steel integral within our sculpture here. So it's going to add a lot of tensile strength. But it's also going to give a lot for the concrete to like cling to and climb vertical surfaces. So it's kind of really useful for this, but you have to be so careful when you're working with it. So just really, really bear that in mind if you're going to try to do this stuff. It's this cut edge in particular that you need to be careful of. Like, I don't know how tight the camera can get on that, but I mean, that cut edge is pretty gnarly. Bend a little hook or a little U with this tie wire. When I pin in this bottom edge here, at this point I like to use galvanized steel roofing nails. Put this guy on edge here, bend in this. So take a look at this bottom edge detail. This represents something that's pretty good. What I wouldn't want to have is something like that, where this is going to be the bottom, like this is our finished side on the bottom here. I don't want any steel extending down past the bottom, so I'm very careful at this point here something like that. So I would come up a 1/2 inch or an inch. Be liberal with these nails. Buy a big box of them, use a lot. Make sure when you're putting this on, don't just start putting pins in, like pull it tight so you got a little bit of tension on it, and then start pinning it in. We want it to sit tight against the styrofoam surface. You don't want it to be lifting off or loose. Now we can start to actually put this thing together. almost done. Let's talk about a few key points here. So one, undercutting. So here we have a vertical surface. We'll be able to deal with that. We'll get the concrete up there. It will be okay. Here we have a slight overhang. I think we got a more dramatic one somewhere on here. Like, I mean, this is vertical. Right here, we've got a tiny little overhang. So those overhangs are death. They kill you when you're doing this stuff. You know, we can climb the vertical surfaces. We can even go a little bit more, but the more that it underhangs, the harder it will be to get the concrete to stick. I mean, you'll get it up there, but then you'll do something else, and then you'll just hear it fall off of there, and that's really annoying when you're working on it. So try to choose a design that's conducive to something that's going to work easily. Like, look at this slope here. As I apply the concrete to this, no problem. Like, gravity wants to hold it on. When I apply it to, you know, an overhang, I'm working against gravity, and I'm working against time, and I'm working against vibrations, and moving this thing around will knock some concrete off. So again, we're a little bit ahead of the game here in describing this problem, but if we minimize on the overhangs at this stage, we're going to really increase our chances for success when we go to put concrete on this thing. I guess something else that I'll mention here, you've noticed me spinning it over and over again. What I'm doing is I'm just looking for protrusions of steel that stick out very far. Or look at this, I got like a loosey-goosey kind of thing here. Anytime I see something like that, I want to do what I can. We call it sewing the seams. I want to sew these seams up so that I don't have like this loose edge. I mean, it's going to be a little bit loose. There's nothing I can do about that. But the more of these ties and reinforcement and things that I add, the better. Like, it all just kind of adds up. And then what we end up with is like this cohesively strong thing that I can kind of just pick up from any one spot, and the whole armature just holds it all together. So if it's that strong before we even add the concrete, like, you can see how we're making like a really strong structure here. Another thing I'm doing is I'm looking for voids, like right there. It's a perfect example. See how that kind of bounces off the face there? I don't really want it to do that. I want it to stay. That's much better. Way less likely for the concrete to fall off. Now let's say, look at these guys here. They're kind of loose. They've come loose. If you push it back down into a hole it's already been in, it doesn't really grab any better. So if it's come loose because I'm, you know, manipulating another area, I'll take that one out, move it an inch over, and send it in again, and then you're going to get a little bit more purchase. Actually, here's another tip. So I can see underneath there, you probably can't see in the detail, that the foam isn't straight. It's kind of like where two pieces were sitting. So instead of trying to tie it where I'm not going to be able to tie it very well, take something like heavy like pliers or a hammer and negotiate that steel lath into position here. There you go, look at that. That's way better. We're almost ready here. I'm going to leave this for now. I'll come back the next day to finish the job. When I come back the next day, I'm going to do the same thing I'm doing here. I'm going to spin it around a bunch more times, looking for places or opportunities where I can kind of tighten this up, snug it up.